All of the top 6 teams struggled this weekend in England, while the troubles continued for Arsenal. Oh, not to mention a terrible result in Germany that cost a manager his job. I'm Adrian. Welcome to Rabona TV's Weekend Recap, and subscribe if you have an interest in anything to do with Arsenal or Borussia Dortmund, because we have some big videos coming at you this week. Everton, they've shown some signs of life thanks in large part to another Edouard Mendy mistake. Now, let's be clear, Mendy is a great keeper still, but he's made some high-profile mistakes recently, which he does indeed deserve some criticism for, but it doesn't take away from what he's achieved thus far at the club. All of those clean sheets don't just evaporate because of that. Anyway, his mistake led to a penalty from which Sigurdsson converted. Calvert-Lewin won a penalty in the second half as well, but he was offside in the build-up. Bit of a let-off for Chilwell and Chelsea there, but other than that, 1-0 Everton, they put in a solid performance defensively. A bit unlucky for Mason Mount late as he hit the post from a free kick, but overall, Chelsea had plenty of the ball but didn't do a ton with it. I find the teams playing in Europe were rightfully, understandably looking a little bit tired and toothless this weekend in England. Because, as you may know, in the Manchester derby, not an interesting watch. Another defensive setup for United, which makes sense given the amounts of scrutiny Ollie would have been subjected to once again if they had lost at home against City. At any other big club, it would have been grounds for a sacking, all things considered. Not sure it would have been at United, but you never know. But anyways, they didn't lose. It's a match that smacked of United going out there to avoid a loss, and for the most part, they played fairly well defensively, so at least there's that. City did have some great opportunities, though, that they spurned. I'm thinking of Gabriel Jesus skying it in the first half, along with Mahrez's poor attempt straight at De Gea when he was clear, with De Bruyne then putting it over the goal after that. United's game plan of waiting for their moment to strike and score either on the break or via a penalty nearly worked, as Rashford won a penalty, but it was cancelled due to offside. De Bruyne, he had a good chance from a Jesus cutback in the second half, but Maguire stood strong to block it. Pretty much a drab 0-0 affair. United the more happy of the two teams, I would assume. But it was a weekend of the big clubs dropping points, as I had alluded to. Liverpool were held to a draw against Fulham. I honestly thought Fulham were going to be given a penalty following Fabinho's reckless challenge on Cavaleiro, given that he didn't get any of the ball, but it wasn't given for some reason. Though Bobby Reed rifled one past Alisson shortly after. Liverpool weren't really at it in the first half, but they were way better in the second. Still, their equalizer came from a Mo Salah penalty, his 10th goal of the season, just one behind Calvert-Lewin in the Golden Boot race. Spurs also struggled and looked pretty toothless for much of their match against Crystal Palace. See what I mean about it being a bit of a down weekend for the quote-unquote bigger teams in England? The dynamic duo of Son and Kane combined once again for Spurs. Not the most beautiful goal that they have combined for, that's for sure. But Kane's strike from distance managed to wrong foot and elude Guaita to give the visiting Spurs the lead. Eze nearly equalized in the first half, but they found their way back in the second half as the rapid Jeffrey Schlupp got on the end of an Eze free kick that Lloris failed to deal with properly. 1-1 the final. It wasn't a down weekend for all of the top teams, however. Not if you're Southampton. They hosted Sheffield United, and poor Uncle Chris, man, he had another misery compiler of a weekend. Again, Sheffield provided absolutely nothing going forward, and Southampton looked extremely sharp in the attack, notching 3 times against the Blades in a comfortable win at St. Mary's. A tale of two teams heading in opposite directions at the moment. Another one of the tricky teams this season, Aston Villa went away to Molineux to take on Wolves, a side that are trying to find their feet again. It's not easy when you lose such an important piece of the puzzle like Raul Jimenez, who, by the way, his recovery is going well. It was a back and forth match that Villa ultimately found the breakthrough via a penalty in the 94th minute, a heartbreaker for Wolves. And of course, another top team in West Ham, yes, West Ham got a victory away to Leeds, a 2-1 victory that was won by Angelo Rabona in the 80th minute. We got to give a ton of respect to David Moyes. West Ham can defend now, which is something he changed, and they aren't really struggling for goals either. Not setting the league alight, but with their sound defense, Moyes is doing a fantastic job. Arsenal fans were again let down by their team's performance this weekend, the opposite of a fantastic job. A drab first half between Arsenal and Burnley bred a much improved performance from Arsenal in the second half, but then the absolute clownery rose to the top. First, there's Granit Xhaka, who put in a poor challenge and got carded for it, but in the mob that followed that challenge, he grabbed his opponent by the throat, and of course VAR picked up on that and he got a red. Stupid move, of course VAR's going to see that. What a way to, kill all the momentum that your team had. Like I said on Twitter, this guy cannot and doesn't really deserve to be defended anymore. Too many times he's cost them, and he doesn't provide enough positives to justify his negatives, in my opinion. He's a losing bet. Following that, a bit unfortunately, but in going with the season, Arsenal in general are having, and Aubameyang in particular is having, he scored an own goal. Unfortunate for him, more unfortunate for Arteta as his team let him down with the red card and the own goal. But he has to shoulder the blame as well. It is also his fault. It's just simply not good enough from all sides, up against a Burnley side that's fighting for relegation and form. And we'll have a video out on Arsenal very soon. Leicester, on the other hand, stormed to a 3-0 lead against Brighton in the first half and called a day from there. That match ended with the same score at 90 minutes as it was at 45, and that win ensured that Leicester are mixing it up with the top two, Liverpool and Tottenham, while Southampton and Chelsea are just behind them as well. Honestly, a nice, even little title race. In Spain, no doubt the biggest match of the weekend was Atletico Madrid taking on Real Madrid, the Madrid derby. Two teams that coming into this were seemingly trending in the opposite direction. But if we've learned one thing from Zidane's Real Madrid, it's that you can never count them out. And with their core of, the good old boys, the remnants of the players that had won multiple Champions League titles under him, there's always a chance that they'll get a win in an important match. That rang true this weekend as perhaps, and it sounds weird saying this, but given their respective forms this season, it's true. But perhaps a bit shockingly, Real Madrid dealt with Atletico Madrid quite easily. Atletico provided next to nothing in the first half, not a single attempt on target, off target or otherwise. Zeros across the board from them. For Real, Benzema was out there to ball again. He rang a left-footed strike off of the post in the 8th minute. Cruz's delivery for Casemiro from a corner provided Real the opener. Poor defending from Atletico. Strange from them, but from the corner, Casemiro basically had a free header at the near post. And in the second half, Atletico greatly improved, but Real's lead was doubled from a long-range strike. It was unfortunate for Oblak as he nearly saved Carvajal's attempt, but as it came off of the post, it ricocheted off of the big Slovenian's booty and in. Scenes from the Atletico bench following that quite dreary loss. So, that win, paired with their Champions League resilience, does change the complexion of Real Madrid's season for the time being, through to the next round of the UCL, fighting for first domestically. It doesn't absolve everyone, but it's looking better in this moment. The other Real, La Real, aka the future champs, were held to their third consecutive draw against Eibar this weekend. They're doing it on purpose though. They just don't want to run away from the rest of the pack as the people couldn't handle the mental game that would ensure Sociedad walking the league. They nearly won it in the 82nd minute, but Zubeldia's goal was called back. Sevilla got back to winning with an away win to Getafe, and the funny part is, they didn't even have a shot on target. Acheta gave Sevilla the win in the 81st minute as he headed beautifully into his own goal, a nice looping header just inside the post. Sevilla had a ton of the ball, nothing out of the ordinary for opponents of Getafe, but man, that win coming with 0 shots on target is always a funny one. And of course, Barcelona took on Levante at home, and while they struggled to score, a lot of it was largely down to the heroic performance of Aitor Fernandez in the Levante goal. Insane performance from him as he made 12 saves. Okay, maybe the finishing could have been better at times from Barcelona, but still, take nothing away from the Levante keeper in this game. Eventually, De Jong and Messi linked up and the Argentinian converted for his 5th goal of the season in La Liga. 1-0 Barcelona as they snap their 2-match losing streak, but they have a big match midweek. Barcelona versus Real Sociedad. I am looking forward to that one. That win moves Barcelona up to 8th place in the table. At the top, Sociedad still occupies that space, while the two Madrid clubs are right on their tail. Villarreal rounds out the top 4, with Sevilla and Cadiz just behind them. In Germany, FC Schalke found themselves 2-1 up and 1 man up following one of Augsburg's players, Niederlechner, getting himself sent off in the 53rd minute. Okay, were Schalke on their way to their first victory in 11 months? They are still 2-1 up as of the 92nd minute, but no, of course not. As the Schalke tragedy continues and Augsburg got an equalizer in the 93rd minute, set up by none other than Michael Gregoric, who played for Schalke last season. It's just hurt all around for Schalke. 2-2. You know what I love to see? Union Berlin doing well, and they certainly got a good result this weekend, playing at their absolutely majestic stadium amongst the trees. An early goal from Grisha Promel got Union off to a great start against Bayern Munich, but Coman and Lewandowski struck in the second half to ensure things ended as a 1-1 draw. What a season Kingsley Coman is having. Another assist for him. That's 2 goals and 6 assists so far. RB Leipzig continued to excel in Germany after they eliminated Manchester United from the Champions League, sending them down to the League. They went ahead and secured a 2-0 win over Werder Bremen this weekend. Not their best performance, but even still, they were very much in control against Werder. Sabitzer opened things up with a penalty, then Poulsen and Dani Olmo combined to make it 2-0 before the half was even finished. Leipzig, they're currently on a 5-match unbeaten run. FC Köln got another win. Yes, Köln have improved their record to the point where their last 3 matches have consisted of 2 wins and a draw. Massive for them as they step out of relegation for a moment. This weekend, they topped Mainz 1-0. A red card in the 76th made things scary for them, but the Billy Goats held on. Bayer Leverkusen are the best team in Germany at the moment as they had a commanding 4-1 victory over Hoffenheim. Leon Bailey with the brace as he has put in some great performances this season. If he can find some consistency with these performances and ensure he reaches those heights a little more frequently, then we can finally start believing the hype that has, for me at least, been unfulfilled for the last couple of years. And finally, no doubt the biggest result and the biggest newsmaker of the weekend in Germany, Borussia Dortmund lost at home against the newly promoted VfB Stuttgart. But they didn't just lose at home, they lost 5-1 at home. That's simply unacceptable. Dortmund went behind in the 26th minute as Stuttgart converted a penalty, but 5 minutes before the half, Gio Reyna equalized. Following that, though, the team absolutely collapsed in the second half and conceded 3 goals in an 11-minute spell to fall 4-1 down. Finally, at the very end of the match, VfB Stuttgart scored their 5th of the match, thus condemning Lucien Favre's side to their heaviest defeat this season. And thus condemning Lucien Favre, as he was sacked about 24 hours later, and you can't say that it came as a surprise. Performances under him have been waning. They haven't really been all that convincing in all areas of the pitch under him in totality, and it's not like their attack was consistent enough to always win matches 4-3 or something. No Haaland, no wins, and Favre's time was coming. You felt like if they finished the season without a trophy, he was going to be sacked anyways. So, Leverkusen lead the way as they are unbeaten at the top ahead of Bayern and Leipzig. Wolfsburg are still yet to lose. Dortmund is 6 points off of the top at the moment, so nothing a good Hansi Flick-esque turnaround can't fix, but there's only one Hansi Flick. In Italy, Lazio had another poor showing at home against Verona, losing 2-1. This comes off of the back of their performance against Brugge, in which Lazio basically tripped and fell flat on their face, just inches ahead of their opponent at the finish line. Before that, they lost 2-1 at home against Udinese. It's some worrying home form from them, and their next home match will be next Sunday against Napoli. And for their part this past weekend, Napoli won 2-1 at home against the Sampdoria side that's proving to be a pretty difficult team to beat lately. And I say that as they haven't won a match since the end of October. But certainly gave AC Milan and Napoli very difficult matches lately. Good old Ranieri, man. Napoli actually came from a goal down to win this one at home. Irving Lozano with the match-winning performance on the day as he equalized in the 52nd minute and then set up Petagna in the 68th for what would be the winner. Napoli are looking good. They're looking very, very good. 3 wins consecutively now. Juve came into this weekend as one of 2 teams to remain undefeated, and they left this weekend with that title as well. Going away to fellow Northerners Genoa, 2 penalties from Cristiano Ronaldo ultimately got them the 3-1 victory. That's 4 goals in 2 matches for Ronaldo, all from the penalty spot. Prior to that, Paulo Dybala opened the scoring for Juve in what was probably his best performance of the season, in my opinion at least. He's one of those players that has such extreme form swings, and currently it looks as if he's on the up. Speaking of being on the up, AS Roma got a big win after going 2 matches winless. They beat up on Bologna 5-1, scoring all 5 of their goals in the first half. In fact, even Bologna's goal, an own goal by Brian Cristante, was scored in the first half. 6 goals scored in this match in just 44 minutes. That's not bad. Mkhitaryan and Pellegrini getting a goal and an assist each. Vertut and Dzeko with the others. And on top of that, an own goal from Bologna's Andrea Poli. Atalanta are showing signs of improvement to their form, despite all of the drama going on behind the scenes. They faced off against Fiorentina, who have some of the nicest kits in my opinion. I love that Kappa is making a comeback. Atalanta started strong and kept that energy throughout, really. Could have had a few goals in the first 20 minutes or so, but they found their breakthrough in the 43rd minute as Zapata showed his great strength on the ball, then cut it back to Robin Gosens. On the other side of the half, Ruslan Malinovsky marked his return to the team with a swerving free kick to make it 2-0, and LAKEY got their third from a flicked corner in which Rafael Toloi put in the final touch. 3-0 the final, much better from Atalanta. Inter Milan, now that they just have domestic competitions to worry about, given that they couldn't beat Shakhtar at home midweek, they got Operation Don't Embarrass Ourselves off to a great start with a 3-1 win away to Cagliari. Well, the result was great, but the match would have had Inter fans pulling their hair out. Let me rephrase that. Will have had Inter fans pulling what little hair they have left out after the football they've been subjected to this season. Conte is going to force them all into a transplant, just like himself. Cagliari opened the scoring in the first half, and it wasn't until the 76th when Barella scored a stunning volley to even things up. In the 84th minute, Danilo D'Ambrosio headed in a Barella cross. Nicolo, the only boy playing out there these days, man. It's crazy. Anyway, late on, when the job was done, Lautaro sent Lukaku through in on his own, and with the keeper all the way up the pitch, he just touched it around him and then dribbled into an empty net, basically. An entertaining match, but not as comfortable as Inter fans would have liked. Better for the neutrals. Another slow start for Inter. What's up with these dudes? And finally, AC Milan dropped points against a very frustrating Parma side. It took a 92nd minute Teo Hernandez equalizer in order to avoid defeat at home against Parma, but hey, good never say die attitude. 2-2 the final there, as they stay in first place, but just 3 points ahead of Inter now. Napoli and Juve aren't too far off either on 23 apiece, while Sassuolo's return to winning ensures they're in touching distance as well.
Hello, editor Adrian here once again, always coming in to save the weekend recap. And since the Champions League draw happened this morning, I figured let's quickly go through the matchups just so you know what's happening in case you missed it. I'm not going to give my analysis yet. That will be in my preview video that will be out probably January, early February, sometime around then. So anyways, first up we had Borussia Mönchengladbach versus Manchester City. That one could go... Well, it depends what kind of Manchester City shows up, and it depends what kind of Borussia Mönchengladbach shows up as well. So that one is sort of a toss-up, in my opinion, with a slight advantage. Maybe not so much a slight advantage, but advantage Manchester City, in my opinion. And then we have Lazio versus Bayern München. Atletico Madrid versus Chelsea. That one I am very much looking forward to. RB Leipzig versus Liverpool as well. Two very good pressing teams going up against each other. Porto versus Juventus. Ronaldo going back to Portugal. Barcelona versus PSG. Now that's an interesting one. I know that Neymar went out injured. I'm not sure the extent of his injury from this past weekend, but Neymar facing off against Messi and the boys. Sevilla and Borussia Dortmund. That one could be a tight one, depending on how well Lopetegui's side plays and what kind of shape Borussia Dortmund are going to be in at that point. Because as you know, Lucien Favre gone. So we'll see. It could go the sort of Hansi Flick way with Borussia Dortmund, or they could just continue to stagnate. And then, of course, we have Atalanta versus Real Madrid. That's a very tasty one to me. If Papu Gomez sticks around, watch out for Atalanta, man. That could be a good one. And of course, let's also just check out the Europa League as well. Give me 1 sec. Now, of course, in the Europa League, we have Wolfsberger AC. That's the Austrian team, remember, not Wolfsburg from Germany, taking on Tottenham Hotspur. Dynamo Kiev and Club Brugge, two teams that dropped down from the Champions League. They'll be facing off against each other. And then, of course, we have Real Sociedad, the future champs of what? I don't know, of something, facing off against Manchester United. David Silva getting to go back to Old Trafford, so I'm looking forward to that. Oh! SL Benfica versus Arsenal. As I said on Twitter, the team that can't defend versus the team that cannot attack. That's going to be a fun one. I will absolutely do a watch along for those matches. Red Star versus AC Milan. Royal Antwerp versus Rangers. Rangers are in great form this season. Slavia Praha versus Leicester. Really expect Leicester to make it through with that. Salzburg versus Villarreal. That's a tasty one. That's a good one. Villarreal doing well in La Liga. Salzburg, you've seen what they can do in the Champions League. Then, of course, we have SC Braga against AS Roma. Paulo Fonseca going back to Portugal. I would expect Roma to go through on this one. I'm not going to do a Europa League preview predictions round of 32 thing. But as that competition moves on, given the quality that's in that competition, I probably will end up doing predictions and previews and stuff for that later on. But as of now, no. Krasnodar, they dropped down to face off against GNK Dinamo Zagreb from Croatia. BSC Young Boys from Switzerland up against Bayer Leverkusen. Leverkusen are in great form in Germany, top of the table, undefeated. Mold from Norway up against Hoffenheim. Granada versus Napoli. That's going to be a good one. Pretty solid team from Spain and Granada. They're just outside of the top teams, basically. And then Napoli, who are in great form. Gattuso has been playing some great football. Maccabi Tel Aviv versus Shakhtar. Lille versus Ajax. That one I do like. And Olympiacos versus PSV Eindhoven. Yes! Oh man. Benfica Arsenal. Whew.
And that's all, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you had a great weekend. I have some excellent content coming at you this week, in my opinion. Some great perspectives on various topics in football, ranging from England to Germany. So subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you around. I'm Adrian. I love you, and take care.